What's up everyone, it's Karthik and Money West. Welcome on board for our Market Open live stream. Seems like stocks are absolutely flying right now pre-market as the US-China deal has been struck. Scott Bessent was Scott Bessent was on CNBC about an hour ago. I want to play the clip. I haven't listened to what he has said, so this is going to be my first time also listening to him. And I'll play a clip and then we'll listen to it together. Just give me a thumbs up. The audio and the video is good. I just want to make sure there are no technical issues. So just give me a thumbs up in the chat.
Appreciate it.
Joe, good to be with you.
Good. Checking on the delay, not too bad. We know that some of the details of what happened, Mr. Secretary, but can you recount to us some of the color, how it came together? You mentioned that the venue and the equanimity. Was it cordial and conciliatory right from the outset, or would you characterize it as tough negotiating most of the way?
Joe, I would characterize it very much as President Trump, the equivalent of President Trump's relationship with Party Chairman Xi. They have a good relationship, but they both advocate strongly for their respective countries, for their respective citizens. So it was always respectful. We have the two largest economies in the world. We were firm and we moved forward. We tried to identify shared interest. We came with a list of problems that we were trying to solve. And I think we did a good job on that. And again, this is a 90-day pause. For our tariff program, we had a plan, we had a process, and now what we have with the Chinese is a mechanism to avoid an upward tariff pressure like we did last time. So this is a 90-day pause.
Do you expect that tone to continue as these details, the devil's always in the details, get worked out over the next 90 days? And what aspects do you think will be relatively easy, and what will present the biggest obstacles?
Well, look, Joe, I don't think anything's going to be easy because this has been going on a long time. But what I can tell you, President Trump in his first term realized a very effective trade deal that was signed in the Oval Office in January 2020. And the Chinese delegation basically messaged to us that the Biden administration failed to hold them accountable for it. So I think that the January 2020, President Trump's highly successful previous trade deal can be a starting point. And knowing that President Trump will enforce any deal, I think will make the Chinese very deliberate in their negotiations and know that whatever they agree to, President Trump will enforce.
Would you say that the Chinese, were you able to detect, or was it apparent that there was some urgency to make some progress, given what we're hearing about Chinese businesses being shuttered en masse, factory activity declining, PMI declining, maybe even some social unrest? Could you detect that, or was there, for lack of a better term, a stiff upper lip shown to you?
Look, the vice premier is a very skilled negotiator. He is a high-ranking Chinese official. I had a very good economic briefing beforehand, but there was no sense of anxiety. There was a sense of moving forward. There was a sense of mutual respect. There was a sense that we had shared interest. But I have seen what's going on in the Chinese economy. We can see what's going on with the shipments to the U.S. And again, we are the deficit country. Historically, the deficit country has a better negotiating position.
Mr. Secretary, part of China's plan over the last several years has been to manufacture far more goods than it can ever consume. It exports that not only to the United States, but to other countries around the world. Other countries like the United States and countries in Europe have felt like they're getting dumped on with all of these excess goods that are being manufactured. Will your talks in other countries find ways to make sure that China can't get around anything you set up in your deals with China by, let's say, shipping goods to Mexico and having that come up, those goods come up through Mexico? How do you shut that down? And did that come up this weekend?
Well, Becky, that's already happening. That's already happening with many goods. It's happening with autos. It's happening with electronics. So that's part of the negotiation with the Mexican government. It's part of our overall strategy. And Chinese have an economic plan called dual circulation. And with dual circulation, our goal is to make sure dual circulation means export and domestic use. Dual circulation cannot mean that China overproduces and that only Chinese goods are consumed in China and then they export the excess to the rest of the world. So we have had the equivalent, because of these high tariff rates, of an embargo on China, and those goods are going to leak to the rest of the world. So, our negotiations, we don't need to tell other countries what they need to do. They are seeing this wave of Chinese goods coming to their shore. They have to find a home, and that could be at a discount price, undercutting local producers.
Mr. Secretary, I have a question for you, which is the market's obviously very happy about this morning. I think the global economy is quite happy about what you've been able to accomplish over the weekend. The question I would ask is how what you've accomplished over the weekend squares to some extent with some of the things that we've heard over the past couple of months from the administration about what the tariffs ultimately could do to both box out China, put pressure on them to do other things for us, to create meaningful additional revenues in the form of tariffs, and perhaps most importantly, to force manufacturing back to the United States. And so by lowering these tariff rates, to some degree, I'm sure there are critics who would say that it upends some of those goals.
Well, again, Andrew, this is just a pause. The April 2nd tariff level for China was 34%. So we have moved that down from 34 to 10. We still have the 20% fentanyl tariffs that were put on in February. So we just in 2025, we have added 30%. And again, one of the most important things that we're doing, we do not want a generalized decoupling from China, but what we do want is a decoupling for strategic necessities, which we were unable to obtain during COVID, and we realized that efficient supply chains were not resilient supply chains. So we are going to create our own steel, protect our steel industry, the work on critical medicines, on semiconductors. So we are doing that, and the reciprocal tariffs have nothing to do with the specific industry tariffs.
We heard, Mr. Secretary, that some progress was made on fentanyl in that deal, and that's 20% of the tariff that's going to stay. How do you see that happening over the next 90 days, and do you expect a deal can be reached, and what does it look like? What do you want China to do exactly with fentanyl?
Well, Joe, this is a priority for President.
So there you have it, everybody. Scott Besson live from Geneva talking about the trade de-escalation with China, bringing those tariffs down to 10% with a 90-day pause. That is a huge, huge catalyst driving this market higher right now. And it's actually crazy how far we are from all-time highs, which is not that much. Because if you come take a look at the S&P 500 right now, as it stands, let's just go over to SPY since it's open pre-market. From all-time highs, we are less than 6% away, less than 5% away from all-time highs right now for S&P 500, which is actually crazy to imagine that we have made so much progress in this market with a very strong recovery from its lows on April 7th. And QQQs, the NASDAQ 100, is just over 6% away from all-time highs. So less than 5 for the SPY and just over 6% for QQQs. That is an incredible amount of progress. But That being said, a lot of individual stocks are still far off from their all-time highs. For example, Apple, it is nowhere near close to all-time highs, so that is still going to be sitting at $259, almost $260. So that is still well over 22% away. Audio cutting in and out. Again, guys, we got to refresh. Check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, 1, 2, 3. Bad connection today. I don't know. I mean, let me try and refresh the audio here. What about now? Is it better? Better. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. How is it choppy? Like, I'm playing literally the stream on my other two devices, and it seems to be working fine. It's like absolutely seamless. It's coming in HD. Choppy stream. Why? Okay, better. Okay. Perfect. Sounds good. All right, so yes, we're very, very close to all-time highs again for S&P and the NASDAQ, but a lot of individual stocks are still, 20, 22, 25% away from all-time highs. I mean, Apple is over 22% away. Very nice to see Amazon, up over 8%. So very, very pleased to see Amazon getting a nice little lift here of over 8%, and it is just over 16% away from all-time highs. So that is also pretty strong recovery there. Tesla pre-market rallying a little bit over 7% as well, up to $321. And then we got my NVIDIA, that's up over 4%, back up to over $121. Very nice to see Advanced Micro Devices also rallying quite a bit here, over 7% pre-market, and getting up to $110. And then, of course, some of my leveraged plays. We got TQQQ up over 11%, getting up to $65, $66 right now. And then, of course, our beautiful SOXL is up over 19, almost 20% right now. So we got almost $17 at the moment for SOXL. It actually breached that $17 level briefly pre-market as well. Volatility, on the other hand, getting crushed, down over 10%. So we are now under 20 for the first time since March 28th. So the entire month of April, volatility was above 20. For most of May, we were above 20. It's the first time since March 28th, we're seeing the volatility back under 20. So 19.74 is where we are for the VIX at the moment. Next resistance for NVIDIA. So let's just come over here to our technical analysis on our chart. Next resistance on NVIDIA is going to stay put roughly at 126. So 126, 127 is going to be that level to watch for NVIDIA. And support level is now going to be turned into 119, 120 for NVIDIA since we are trading above that level. And you have to fix your audio, can't fully hear you. That's so strange. It's so weird. Why is it for some people it's perfect and for others it's not? That is so strange. It's either it's working or it's not working, but for half it's fine, half it's not. It's just so weird. And like I said, I have the entire stream playing on my other device, and it seems to be working just fine. I don't know what it is. Okay, back in and back out again. Clear here. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just keep going. As long as it's working for most people, I'll just keep going. But yeah, so if you go back to, April 7th, April 8th, April 9th, like those days, we talked about the MoneyVest dashboard and how it was flashing green. There was a lot of buying opportunities back then, and that was when the risk reward is very favorable, right? That's what we try to analyze here on the channel. For the most part, we're trying to assess the risk-reward ratio in the market at any given point in time. There is no predictions to where the stocks or the markets are going to go. Nobody really knows to any extent where the markets are going to be. But our job is to assess the risk-reward ratio at that given point in time. And April 7th, I showed you guys flashing green. February 17th, I think was the day, was all-time highs. For the market, it was more red than green. And right now, if I were to put a number to where we are in terms of the risk-reward ratio, well, we can already put a number because we got the money invest index. We're at just over 3.3, 3.4 right now. So that tells me that risk reward is not great. It's not excellent, but it's also not terrible because we're nowhere near close to euphoria or greed, but we're also not near any panic or pessimism. So we're kind of in the middle, and that's really where we are. Like, we saw this 20% sell-off, we recovered 20%, but we're still off by 5-6% right now. So risk reward, I would say, is somewhat unfavorable, but it's not extremely unfavorable. But then, of course, you've got more risk than reward, less upside than the kind of risk that we'd be taking at these prices. So that's where we are right now. However, individual stocks, if you look at individual stocks, there are buying opportunities there. John, if you're still lagging, you need to close out YouTube and then fully come back in. Yes, try that, please. NVIDIA earnings near the end of the month. Yes, NVIDIA earnings are also coming out, and that is going to be a very, very important earnings for the entire market. So I will be live until 9:30. I'm not going to be live past market open because I need to spend time in our Discord, and I actually need to place some trades because markets are pushing up so much, and I need to either close my leveraged positions, some trade ideas that I took on, or I need to start selling some calls. And I miss that every time because I'm doing live streams, and 30 minutes, the 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m., the markets have completely changed and I miss out. So I'm not going to do the live stream post 9:30. So you've got 17-20 minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask right now. 20 minutes, I'm here to answer as many questions for as many stocks as possible, for the economy, for recession, inflation, interest rates, the U.S.-China trade deal, support resistance levels, technicals, everything. So more than happy to go over that. Could you look into good AMD covered calls? Yeah, so Akash, I'll do that and I'll share that in the Discord. I got to look at my options chain on Webull and we'll suggest some. Just let me know what your cost basis is and what the objective is with AMD. Are you planning to hold your shares? What is your priority, capital gains or premiums? And then what is the kind of expirations you're looking at? Then I can kind of look at deltas and go over some of those options for you. Milo says, buy the rumor, sell the news. I think today is a good day to sell. Careful on the FOMO. So it really depends on what it is that you're holding and for what objective. If you took on some trades, then yes, today's a really good pump in the market, pre-market or after the market's open to take some profits off the table. But if you're a long-term investor, none of this really matters, right? If you're investing for the long term, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 years out, doesn't matter. This volatility is going to always be there. Markets are going to go down, they're going to go up, and so time in the market is your best friend. And so stay invested. Don't even consider selling unless you need the money or unless there is some kind of, like I said, you need the money or you're overly allocated on that position and you're not comfortable with that allocation. Or the third reason is that your actual conviction in that company or that stock changed dramatically. So if any of those three reasons get hit, sure, you can consider trimming some of your long-term positions. But if none of those things happen, then you're better off just sticking with the plan, trusting the process, holding for the long term. If you are taking on trades, then yes, it's a whole different story. Like some of my leveraged positions, like SOXL, BITX, QQQ, I will consider taking some profits off the table. Those are not my long-term holds. Those are primarily for trades. So you got to really make that distinction between those two positions. Okay. Emre, hey Karthik, hope you're doing well. Specific question about Novo Nordisk. How do you evaluate if it's going down after the news? HIMS blew up in contrast, for example. So NVO is still part of the shopping list. It is down 2.5%. It's been selling off quite a bit. I mean, 2025 has not been a great year for Novo Nordisk, but that is true for most biotech stocks. I mean, they go up and down because of the volatility for biotech. And it's not the first time, certainly not the last time Novo Nordisk is down this much. It's happened before in the past, back in 2016. This right here back in 2008. This right here back in 2002. This right here back in 1998. Multiple occasions for this company that it's actually gone down 40, 50, 60%. So as long as the fundamentals continue to be in a strong position, that is really what's going to matter over the long term. Okay, cost basis 113, holding for the long term. So price target's 150. So if your price target's 150, then I wouldn't consider selling calls. Because, then if you always have the risk of getting your shares called away. And that's one of the biggest risks that everyone needs to avoid when you're selling calls. If you have a long-term position, then there's no point selling calls against those shares, because there will always be that risk of your shares getting called away if the option gets in the money. So really, selling calls is only for stocks that you are trading. Long-term positions, only exception is if you are going way out of the money and the delta is really, really low, which lowers your probability of assignment, in other words, that option expiring in the money. So look for really farther out of the money, low deltas, but then of course you're compromising on the premium. You're going to be making peanuts, but something is still better than nothing. So every investor has to evaluate that for themselves. What are they comfortable with? And whatever strike you do choose, be okay with selling your shares at that price if you're selling covered calls. Because, I've heard so many times people sell covered calls at a certain strike and the stock, blows past that strike price, and then they're regretting missing out on all those capital gains when they have to sell at a lower price point. So pick a strike which you are going to be comfortable with. You have to live with that decision if it gets in the money. You can always roll your options, but then it becomes a bit more of a challenge. And it's better off than you're starting off on the right foot in the first place. Okay, Riley, at what stage would you consider taking some risk off the table? Well, it depends again on your trading positions. So for me, TQQQ, I'm up like 40%. BITX, I'm gonna be up like 50%. SOXL, I'm up like 30+%. So given how much we are pushing up, I wouldn't mind taking some off the table, because those are simply trades. Those are not long-term positions. So for trades, I wouldn't mind taking some off the table, considering that they have moved up quite a bit. And rest, I will let it ride, or even sell calls against it. Jeremy, what's your plan with TQQQ SOXL today? Honestly, TQQQ, I'm actually planning on thinking about closing it out because of how much it's moved up. Can it go higher? Yes. NASDAQ still 5-6% away from all-time highs. So TQQQ might still have more upside to $70 or $80. So honestly, I haven't decided yet. I'll see what happens after the markets open, and then I'll alert everybody in the Discord to see what I really want to do. Netflix down 1.5%. Netflix has been doing really well. So if anything, Netflix has killed it in this entire sell-off in the market. It's the only stock in the FANG stocks and technology that's actually held up really well. Yes, so Carlene, what are your thoughts on SOXL for closing the position, as we purchased it when it was $8? So yeah, up. I also averaged it up quite a bit, so my profit is not 100%, but I know for people who've picked it up at $8, $9 that are going to be up like 80, 90, 100%. So huge congratulations to everybody who took part in these trades. Worked out really well for us, and then yeah, feel free to take profit. I've been talking about this in our Discord constantly, that these are leveraged positions. They can be very risky, so take profit when you need to, because of the fact that they're only trades. They're not meant to be long-term holds. Yeah, Temple says, I'm going to sell TQQQ at some point this week. We'll be keeping BITX longer because I think Bitcoin can jump is still yet to come. So that's a good strategy there. Any opinion on Reddit stock? I do like Reddit, but it kind of feels to me very much like Twitter. Yes, they've got a path to profitability, so I'm going to have to wait and see what that looks like over the coming quarters and years. Looks like they are generating some profit. Margins are pretty low. So I think for me, it's going to be a wait and see approach, because advertising for Reddit also is a bit of a difficult model, very similar to X. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, TQQQ, SOXL, would you consider it for long term? Not really. It's really volatile, right? So you got to be extremely careful. That's why it's my job to make sure that you are fully aware with the risks of investing in leverage ETFs. So please be very careful. And if it is important, then you might as well just take profit and then look to trade them again. Long term, the reason why I don't personally hold them long term or recommend it, because of the volatility that it carries. SOXL, like for example, had you bought it in December 2018, held it all the way till 2020, you would have been up 348%. But Had you not taken any profit, in just a few weeks, you would have lost all of it. 82% sell-off, right? So it can be incredibly volatile in that nature, where they're supposed to be traded, not invested in long term. Okay. Monica says, I'm sitting on my hands today. So, yeah, markets have just been going crazy. Marianne, I'm 700% up on Palantir. Every time I take profit, it keeps going higher. Yeah. So really, I mean, it comes down to, what's your goal with that? Palantir has no limits. My strategy was to sell my original investment plus the same amount into profit. The remaining shares sometime this week will sell 26 calls at like $180. Yes, so Palantir seems to completely disregard all fundamentals. It's now back at 121. And would not be surprised if we break above 125, new all-time highs for Palantir, in case we continue to see this momentum and rally in the market. So, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing in this entire volatile market? I mean, April was crazy. May so far has been significantly better. And even, last half of April, like the back half of April, was very good because we were at one point in the month of April. If anybody wants to take a guess, let me know if you know. At one point, we were down in the month of April by how much? How much were we down in the month of April at one point when the brutal sell-off came in? April 7th low, how much were we actually down? Robinson says 8%. Royal says 5%. Let's see who gets it right. Let's see who gets it. Zayed says 20%. So that was from all-time highs. But in the month of April alone, at one point, how much were we down? Ember says 21, 24. Jesus, you guys got like really, really big numbers. No, the markets were not down that much. 24, 36, 15, 9, 22. Yeah, so we were actually down 13%. So 13% was that number. If you come over to SPX and you look at it and trace it back from all-time highs to one point during the month of April. Oh, actually, I'm just looking at the month of April here. Yeah, so this is the entire long wick from the closing price of March to the low point in April 7th, we were down 13%. So almost 14%, 13.74 to be precise. So yes, 13% at one point. And you can see the longer wick here, right? So many buyers stepping in, at those prices. Like, look at this entire wick. I wonder how many shorts got burned here when they were shorting, and the market just absolutely kept on recovering back in the back half of April. And we're starting to see that continuation in the month of May as well. So absolutely wild last 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, I should say now. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, so 120 calls, I've already rolled them out to 150 now, Volt. Don't have the 120 calls anymore. So now I have the upside all the way till 150 for Palantir. So Blue Turd Taurus, can you recommend a trade buy today to hold and sell short term? I've been subscribed for a few months. Love your channel. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being a part of our channel. And as unfortunate as it is, I would love to throw out some trade ideas, but that's just not how we sort of function. Because from a trade idea perspective, it has to be a little bit more properly managed in terms of risk and well calculated, basically. I could tell you there are some individual companies like stocks that I do still like, even at these levels, like Meta's part of it, Nvidia's part of it, Amazon's part of it, that are not that far off from my buy targets and my fair values, but those are more long-term. From a swing trading perspective, SOXL and TQQQ were the two that I took, and I'm on towards the part of that trade where I'm actually starting to now take profit. So, in terms of a short-term swing trade, I'll definitely share ideas if I find some. on our Discord, but right now I don't have anything at the moment for you. Yes, so market opens in about 3 minutes here. So I'm going to cut the live stream, unfortunately, here. I'm going to jump into our Discord because, like I said, if I'm live after the market's open, I miss out on a lot of the moves myself, and I'm not able to take advantage. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If you want to continue to stay connected and engage with our community, link's going to be down below. I've also pinned it at the top of the chat, so you can join our Discord and, of course, access all the trade alerts, trade ideas, engage with other members for long-term investing, swing trading, and options trading. We're always here to help you in your journey. And our focus is always on risk management first, and then we look at the potential reward. So as I said this many times before, risk and reward is where I and our community specialize in. That's what we look at. We don't make predictions. We don't like to forecast what's going to happen because nobody knows. And we're looking at the markets every single day to figure out where the best opportunities are and where the best risk reward is. So thank you so much. Happy investing. I'll see you all in the